4 years ago, I spent a summer working at a small traditional Ryokan in Kyoto, the kind of family-run inn where guests sleep on tatami mats and breakfast arrives on a wooden tray. The owner, a woman named Yuki, ran the entire property with her husband and one part-time helper, yet every single room, hallway, and common space stayed impeccably clean around the clock, even during full occupancy with guests coming and going constantly. I remember asking her when she found time to clean, assuming she must wake up at 4 in the morning to scrub before guests stirred. She laughed and told me something I've never forgotten. I don't clean the Ryokan. I run it in a way that never gets dirty. That distinction changed how I understood cleanliness entirely. She wasn't performing extra labor behind the scenes. She'd built an entire operational rhythm where mess simply had no opportunity to form in the first place. Over that summer, she showed me 6 specific practices, each one small enough to seem unremarkable individually, but powerful enough combined that I've never gone back to my old cleaning habits since returning home. This is that routine, adapted from a Japanese inn to an everyday household, broken into 6 practices you can start today, each one addressing a different blind spot most of us never even think to examine. At the Ryokan's entrance, Yuki enforced an unusual rule. No more than 3 objects were ever allowed to exist in that space at any given time. Guest shoes, a single welcome sign, and nothing else. If a 4th item appeared, a forgotten umbrella, a stray package, it got relocated within minutes, not left to accumulate alongside the others. She treated the entrance almost like a stage that needed to reset itself constantly, never allowed to become a storage zone by default. I adapted this rule for my own front entrance at home, and it transformed the space more than I expected. I chose 3 categories allowed to exist there: keys in a small dish, 1 pair of house shoes, and incoming mail in a single tray. Nothing else earns a spot. When a 4th item shows up, a grocery bag, a jacket, a stray toy, its presence itself becomes the signal to relocate it immediately, because the entrance visually announces when it's over capacity. This works because it removes ambiguity entirely. There's no gradual creep of just one more thing here, because 3 is the ceiling. Full stop. Try this in your own entryway. Choose exactly 3 categories allowed to live there, and treat anything beyond that as an immediate signal for action, not something to tolerate or postpone until later. Inside the Ryokan's linen closets and supply cabinets, everything was arranged so that labels, folds, and openings faced the exact same direction. Every towel folded identically, every supply box turned so its label read clearly from the doorway. At first, this seemed purely aesthetic, almost fussy. But Yuki explained the actual function. When everything faces the same way, any disorder becomes instantly, visually obvious. A towel folded backward, a box turned sideways. These tiny inconsistencies jump out immediately, prompting correction before disorder has any chance to compound into something larger and harder to fix. Compare this to how most of us store things. A drawer where mismatched items point in random directions makes it genuinely impossible to notice small disorder until the whole thing has become a tangled mess, requiring a full reorganization. The forward-facing method builds correction into the visual structure itself, almost like an alarm system that requires no batteries. I've applied this to my pantry, my linen closet, and even my desk drawer, orienting labels and items consistently in one direction. Now, the moment something's turned wrong, I notice within seconds and fix it in equally few seconds, rather than only noticing weeks later when the whole space has quietly degraded into chaos. Choose one storage space today and orient everything in it the same direction. Unlike the exhausting deep clean many households treat as a weekly requirement, Yuki practiced something she called Nichiyou Junbi, Sunday preparation, a brief 15-minute ritual focused entirely on the week ahead rather than correcting the week behind. Every Sunday evening, She walked through the Ryokan checking supply levels, noting anything that needed restocking, and making a short list for the coming week. This wasn't cleaning in any traditional sense. It was forward-looking maintenance, catching small problems before they became larger ones demanding urgent, stressful attention. I've translated this into my own home as a 15-minute Sunday check. Are the essentials stocked? Is anything running low that will cause a scramble midweek? Are there any small repairs or replacements needed before they become urgent? This single habit eliminates the specific type of chaos that comes from running out of something at the worst possible moment, which often triggers rushed, disorganized behavior that creates mess elsewhere as a side effect. Spend 15 minutes this Sunday doing the same. Walk through your home, not to clean, but simply to look ahead and catch what needs attention before the week demands it urgently and unexpectedly. Perhaps the most transformative habit Yuki taught me wasn't a physical action at all, but a mental one. Every morning before opening the Ryokan to guests, she'd walk through the space asking herself one specific question. If someone important arrived in exactly 1 hour, is there anything here I'd rush to fix? Whatever answer came to mind, she addressed immediately, right then, rather than waiting for a more convenient moment that might never actually arrive. I've adopted this exact question as part of my own morning routine, applying it to my home before I leave for the day. The question forces genuine honesty in a way that simply looking around a room doesn't always achieve. We grow blind to our own clutter through familiarity, but imagining a guest arriving shortly cuts through that blindness instantly and completely. It's not about performing cleanliness for others. It's about using an external perspective to see your space as it actually is, rather than how you've grown accustomed to seeing it after months of living there. Try this tomorrow morning. Before leaving your home, ask yourself that exact question and address whatever answer surfaces, even if it takes only 2 or 3 minutes total. The final practice Yuki shared with me happened once weekly, usually late Sunday afternoon, what she called simply the empty hour. For 60 minutes, no phone, no television, no distractions of any kind. Just her, walking slowly through every room of the Ryokan, touching nothing unless it was out of place, simply observing the space with full attention rather than the distracted half-awareness most of us bring to our homes throughout a busy, chaotic week full of obligations. During this hour, she'd notice things that had escaped attention during the rushed days prior, a drawer that needed better organization, a small stain that had been overlooked, a shelf that could be arranged more sensibly for daily use. The empty hour wasn't about fixing everything found during that walk. Some things got addressed immediately, others simply got noted for later attention. Its real value was the undivided attention itself, something we rarely give our own living spaces amid constant distraction and endless scrolling. Try dedicating 1 hour this week, phone away completely, to simply walking through your home with full attention, noticing what your rushed daily awareness typically misses entirely.